All right, well, for most of us, good evening. It would be probably good afternoon for you, Bill. I'm glad after a couple months to,
Cutting out a little bit.
uh-oh, not this computer too. I have a knack with computers. But anyway, I'm going to introduce our speaker this evening. William F. Bill Stumbaugh
Went so well. Now we're getting.
was born, raised, and educated in California. He's the father and grandfather. A little bit about his Peace Corps activity. He's a Peace Corps volunteer in the Dominican Republic from 1968 to 1970. He's been a professional educator for 30 years. He has a BA in political science, an MA in educational administration, and a PhD in educational leadership through the University of California. His doctoral dissertation was on communication patterns between school personnel and migrant parents. His Rotary experience: he has been a Rotarian for 35 years, past club president 3 times, assistant governor 6 times. He's been a group study exchange team leader in San Diego to Ecuador, Rotary Foundation technical cadre, and basic education and literacy, which is really dear to our club, which that's our club focus. He reviewed on site and evaluated 14 global grant projects in other districts. He's been a coordinator of 15 global grant projects in Africa and Latin America. Currently, he is coordinating 5 global grants for Rotary clubs in Ecuador. He's been Club and District Rotarian of the Year. He has a citation for meritorious service from the Rotary Foundation, major donor level 2 to the Rotary Foundation, and he is a member of the Paul Harris Society. As far as partnering for peace, he's been a member of the board of directors from 2019 to 2021, and he's promoted awareness of Rotary Peace Corps collaboration. And Bill, I am going to go ahead and turn the program over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Alicia. That's good to be here. I hope we don't get cut out. I missed part of your introduction, but I'm glad to be here. It's really an opportunity for me to share what we've been doing with Partnering for Peace, and also I'm here to promote Peace Corps too as well, and let you know a little bit about what Peace Corps does and what Peace Corps is about, basically through my own experiences. Okay, so let me. Can you share with me so I can? Can you share the screen with me so that I can?
You should be set.
Huh. All right, well, let's see. I don't see my document here. Let's see. I don't know. It's not opening. I'm not getting, oh, wait a minute. Well, there it is, but I don't want that. You see my document? No, you don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I open up the share panel, but it doesn't show my document. I don't know why. My document is open already, my PowerPoint, so it should show up. Huh.
Yeah,
I've got
you on screen share. Let me go through, make sure. Yeah, you should be good to go on my end.
Alicia, he could send it to you if you continue to have problems. Maybe you could open it.
Sure. You can, yeah, you can, Bill, you can give that a try.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what he said.
If you send it to me, I might be able to pick it up on my computer.
Right. I'm sorry, I still don't understand what you're asking me to do. I mean, I've done a lot of sharing on Zoom before, but I've never, all I know.
Send the PowerPoint.
What?
Send the PowerPoint.
You want me to send you the PowerPoint, Alicia, is what you're saying?
You can give it a try. Let's give that a
You
try.
mean by email? I'll send it to you by email?
Yes.
Okay, well, hang on a minute then. close the PowerPoint too, first off, Jesus. I have to close up the PowerPoint first before I can send it.
How did we ever survive without all this wonderful technology?
All right. Computers, you can't live with them. You can throw them out the window.
Probably a little bit better, Will.
Yeah, I don't know either. For some reason that every time I close this PowerPoint, it wants to convert to something. I don't know. It says it's converting. Takes a while just to close down. Okay, all right, so let's see. Well, it's telling my internet connection's unstable. I already knew that, or we wouldn't be having this problem.
No, that could be a lot of it.
Let's see, what is this? P4P? Well, okay, it's beginning to attach or upload to the email.
Okay.
Well, let me start. I can talk anyway while I'm waiting. As Elise, you folks hear me, correct? You still hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes. You're good.
You hear me?
Yes.
I still got a poor connection here for some, yeah. At least I said I'm a Californian and as they say, bred, born and raised and educated in California. You went to the University of California, she cited that. After going to the university and getting my bachelor's degree, I decided to go in the Peace Corps and I entered the Peace Corps in 1968 and was assigned to the Dominican Republic. And there I was assigned to work with what was called the Agrarian Reform Agency. Many of you may know or remember the name of a dictator named Leonidas Trujillo, who ruled the country for like 31 years. And so he died. The new government decided to distribute a lot of the land to the people. And I was assigned to work with that agency in what they call a project area, where there was a number of plots of land that poor people had received. And my job was to help organize them and at the same time bring improved agricultural technology to them. That was for 2 years. I studied Spanish in school, but maybe not for you guys, but I never liked taking a foreign language and I resisted it, but it was a requirement. So I did the minimal amount to pass and I passed. But then later on with the Peace Corps, I entered the Peace Corps, they saw that I'd taken Spanish and that's why they sent me to a Spanish speaking country. And once I got into the Dominican Republic and had to, through trial and error, learn Spanish, it enabled me to do the work that I was sent there to do. And at the same time, and all that, the Peace Corps truly, and I use the word transformed my life, just changed me completely about what I thought I might want to do in my life and where I wanted to live and who I was going to know and so forth. Boy, this PowerPoint sure taking a long time to upload. I don't know if this could become practical. Let me go back. Still a little uploading.
Okay.
So I came back from the Peace Corps and I didn't want to be back in the United States. It didn't feel right to me. So I found another job quickly in Mexico with another group, Farm Centers International, they were called. And I worked there for 2 years in the Sierra Madre of Mexico, helping farmers learn about pig production. First time I ever worked with pigs, but I learned, people taught me, and I helped the farmers learn more, and did that for 2 more years, and further, gained more knowledge of Spanish at the time. Then I came back to California, became a school teacher, and never planned to, but a friend convinced me that's what I've been doing. So I gave it a try and found I liked it. And I worked with younger elementary age children, first, second, third, fourth grade as a teacher for about 10 years in a bilingual setting. These were all kids, almost all of them were kids from Mexican migrants, and they didn't know English, and that was my job, to teach them English as well as to help them improve their other academic skills using Spanish in the meantime. Went on to become a school principal, a director of special education, director of special projects, eventually leading a migrant education program, which was at the time one of the largest in the United States, and worked on my doctorate at that time involving migrant education, and eventually became in the end of 2 different school districts before I retired. That's too bad. I hope you're hearing me. This is so frustrating. So, do you hear me? This is so frustrating.
Yep,
Hello?
we hear you.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I just watching this PowerPoint. It says it wants to go as a Google link, but it's still not even uploading as a Google Drive. I don't even know what I have to do for that. I really have to deal with that. Let's go back here for a minute.
Well, the other thing that we can do is,
See if
towards
I
the end
can,
of the meeting, if we can't get the PowerPoint up,
again,
you can set it up and send it to me. I can always attach it to our
Sure.
meeting thread, so.
Well, let me see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open the PowerPoint here and not try to send it to you. And I'm just going to talk from it here.
Okay.
Without the pictures, I guess. Where's the PowerPoint? Here it is. This way, I guess. So, Jay, I wish I could show you the photos I got. Sorry about that. Well, so what I really want to help you understand is that it really, the bottom line of all this is that I volunteer for a group called Partnering for Peace. Partnering for Peace was developed about 3 years ago. It was initiated by some Rotarians in the Denver area who were all what we call returned Peace Corps volunteers. We don't say ex-Peace Corps volunteers because we all kind of consider ourselves kind of ongoing Peace Corps volunteers. And the idea was to work to develop and strengthen the collaboration that was formalized between Peace Corps and Rotary International a few years ago. And the reason is that a lot of what Peace Corps does in the areas that Peace Corps volunteers work in are aligned very well with the 7 areas of emphasis that Rotary stresses for international projects. And that would include areas in health and education, and excuse me.
Community development
Yeah, I'm looking
and
for
environment.
Sorry, I'm trying to find the slideshow here. Okay. So health and education, community and economic development, environment. Peace Corps also has an area called youth and development. Rotary doesn't have that, but of course, youth is involved in various of the other areas that Rotary stresses. Another area that Peace Corps stresses is agriculture. And certainly Rotary does that either indirectly through economic development projects or water irrigation projects, for example, which I have had the pleasure of working on. Peace Corps volunteers are only going to a country when that country's government has requested them through through negotiation and contraction with the United States government through the Office of the Peace Corps. Usually they request assistance in remote rural areas, and that's, in my case, that's what happened. I lived in a town called Sabana Grande de Palenque, which is southwest of Santo Domingo on the coast, on the southern coast. And it was like a whole nother world, because particularly back then in 1968, there was no internet, no television, no telephone in the community. Electricity was sparse and intermittent, and same thing with water. You could get water sometimes through a system that was left over by the dictator, but nobody was really maintaining it well, so you couldn't always rely on either water or electricity. You always have to work, the volunteers, we always had to work with a host country counterpart. So again, I was assigned to the Agrarian Reform Department, and I worked in conjunction with a couple of their representatives who would come out periodically to where I was working to see how we were doing or to support what I was doing. Often though, it's turned out that over the years, volunteers have sometimes connected to a local Rotary club in those countries and have been able to collaborate with them sometimes to develop a project. You should know that Peace Corps has worked over 90 countries of the world, and Rotaries in almost 200 countries of the world. So there's a lot of potential for this to develop further collaboration for projects in those countries with support maybe from a Rotary club in the United States, for example. But it's also, I also want to stress that there are a lot of returned Peace Corps volunteers in the United States, and they would make excellent Rotarians because they've already led a life of service and they have a great knowledge of what it's like to be doing service in an international developing nation. So I encourage you to try to connect with the return volunteer, Peace Corps volunteer associations that'll be in your area. And I know there's one in Miami and one in Atlanta and maybe in some other cities in the Southeast. And you can either try to locate them through contacting the National Peace Corps Association or going on the internet and just Googling for Peace Corps associations in your region.
There's one based in Sarasota, be the closest.
Okay. All right, good. See, I really encourage that because I would encourage you to invite one of their representatives or more to come to your club or to come to your club, to participate in your e-club meetings that present a program and to help them understand what Rotary's about. Because most of them really don't know, just like a lot of people don't know what Rotary's about. The typical Peace Corps volunteer serves for 27 months. Usually a couple of those few months in the beginning of those months are for training. And then usually it's about 24 months of service. They work across those 6 sectors I already mentioned. And the average age, they say about now of a Peace Corps volunteer is 26 years of age. However, it's gotten older over the years, meaning the volunteers. And now approximately 17% or 1/6 of all the volunteers are over 50 years of age.
Oh.
Some of you may recall that Lillian Carter, the mother of former President Jimmy Carter, she became a Peace Corps volunteer when she was about 65 years old. And there are many volunteers now who are retired from a lifelong profession in some area. And they've decided to take that step out of their comfort zone and do something different and go in the Peace Corps. I might add that Peace Corps has excellent health support for the volunteers. If I ever had a problem, there was a medical doctor on staff for the Peace Corps as well as a dentist. And occasionally if a volunteer got really sick, they would ship them to the United States. So being older in my case than others of my age, that's certainly an important factor to know about when you consider joining the Peace Corps. Peace Corps also developed another component after I left that's now been active for a number of years, and it's called Peace Corps Response. These are shorter assignments between 3 and 12 months, and they're always more technically focused. And the average age of the volunteers in these response programs is 44 years old, which indicates that, again, a lot of older people are having this opportunity to serve, and it's a shorter time period, and it's more in line with the training or the professional experience that they've already gained in life. So in a sense, they can go into this opportunity perhaps with more confidence than maybe what the younger people have when they've been joining. Oh, I got a nice picture of a home in the Dominican Republic. Wish I could show you that. This is a home that was right around the corner from where I lived. And it's also the site of the first time I had to go out in public and try to speak Spanish. So anyway, there was back in, I can't remember the year, but it was back, I'm going to say approximately 2016, that formally the Peace Corps and Rotary signed an agreement to try to develop collaboration and to share resources and expertise to boost the impact of their mutual development efforts. And they set up a pilot in the Philippines and Thailand and Togo, which provided a model for how the two organizations could continue to team up. And they just renewed that collaboration last year. So Partnering for Peace, the group I'm with, that's the purpose we have, is to try to help create more awareness among Rotarians and among Peace Corps volunteers, both those on the job and those former Peace Corps volunteers, those returned Peace Corps volunteers, about each other. Again, I want to say that a returned Peace Corps volunteer would be an excellent candidate for Rotary, particularly if it's a club that is involved in doing international projects, because they're going to have a lot of insight, and they may even have some good contacts with a country that the club may want to engage in for projects. These are my neighbors. There's a photo here of a bunch of kids and children in front of my neighbor's house. They all gathered together for this photo because, you understand, I went into a town that was very poor. Only some of the adults had shoes. This photo I have here shows about 20 children. None of them have shoes. This is back in '68. I think things have improved since then. And I was just an object of certain curiosity, because that was the first time many of these people had ever seen a white person, and certainly somebody who had on Levi jeans and shoes and was bigger, and by and large, than a lot of the people. So it was a way to transcend boundaries. So I want to talk a little about the areas of focus. As you know, there are 7 areas of focus for Rotary, and I have a chart here that you would see that would show how it compares with the areas in Peace Corps, which are listed as education, health, youth and development, agriculture, community economic development, and the environment. This chart shows that approximately 42% of the Peace Corps' activity has been in the area of education, another 20% in health, and then youth development 12%, and so forth downward in the other 3 areas. I have some photos here of the house I lived in, a very rudimentary house made out of palm wood. And you can see some scenes here of just the gas stove I had, and the kerosene lantern, and some books and so forth I had in this home. And there's a lot of cracks in the wall. You can't see this in the photo, but there's all kinds of cracks in the wall where the sunlight comes through. Again, this is the tropical country, so having a breeze come through the cracks wasn't such a bad idea. But it also permitted mosquitoes and lizards and cockroaches and mice and rats to go in and out of the house. And I became eventually immune to all that. In the beginning, it was somewhat discomforting. But the parallels between Rotary and Peace Corps are really quite remarkable. If you think about high school, we have Interact kids in high school, and then they go on to university and they join Rotaract, and it's about that age when many people go into Peace Corps. And so while some are in Peace Corps, others may be going on to Rotaract, and then go on, preparation for life and become Rotarians. And the same thing happens to the Peace Corps volunteers. They do their service, and then they come back to the United States and begin to, invest themselves in their profession, and begin families and all that. Very similar to somebody who grew up in Rotary and did work for Rotary. Again, they're both a way to have a robust and meaningful life and to develop a network of friends. Research about Rotary, about why people join Rotary and also why people stay in Rotary, show two principal conclusions. One is that people wanted to make friends. They wanted to expand their network of contacts. They wanted to develop their red of acquaintances. And that's the same thing that you get from being in Peace Corps. At the same time, they also wanted to give back, to do service, to help others who are less fortunate. And so those two common themes for Rotary are also prevalent in Peace Corps. And that's why many Peace Corps volunteers, when they come back home, they not only look for opportunities to continue that service, that's why Rotary would be a good option, but they also maintain communication among the members of their groups. And many of them have annual anniversaries where members of their former Peace Corps group get together and catch up with each other and see what's been going on in their lives. I have another photo here of my house. Again, I was trying to give you a feel of what it was like to live there. And I have a scene here of my bed with a mosquito net over it. The mosquito net was mounted the day I moved in, and it stayed there for 2 full years. And every night I slept under a mosquito net. And at first it was kind of weird and strange. But believe me, when you're in bed at night, you have that net down and you can hear the mosquitoes buzzing around it on the outside. You're really glad you're inside under that net. But you adapt. At first, it seems like a big problem, a big challenge, but you learn to adjust and adapt. And that, as I said, transformed my life. Learning those skills and realizing the things that I thought would never happen to me were now happening to me regularly and weren't as bad as I feared they might be. So again, Partnering for Peace is promoting this partnership and this awareness for the members of each of the two groups about the other one between Peace Corps and Rotary. And we're trying to promote it at the grassroots level by talking to Rotary clubs, by talking to district governors, by promoting contact like we're having right now, but also by having like workshops as part of a district conference, or now with Zoom, doing a Zoom presentation to a club. And I have done presentations to other clubs by Zoom before this one now. That's another scene of a house. I have here a chart in front of me. I was going to show you which list of various Peace Corps projects in various countries wherein Rotary clubs have collaborated with these Peace Corps volunteers. And these countries range from Vanuatu and Senegal and South Africa, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Peru, Panama, Colombia, Togo, just almost around the world. And they involve everything from a cook stove, to cancer screening, literacy program, building bathrooms, soup kitchens, community gym, water chlorination, textile weaving, microloans, school playgrounds. You have it, they've been doing it. According to this information I received, the Peace Corps volunteers and in-country Rotary clubs have teamed up to the tune of $500,000 or more so far in successful projects that we've been able to identify. There's really no central database about this information, so it takes persistence, researching, asking questions, and so forth. I hope you can tune into this. There's a big event coming up in September, in the week of September 20 through 26. There's what was called the Rotary Peace Corps Week. We've got the endorsement from the Peace Corps as well as from Rotary International, and both John Welko and the new Peace Corps director will participate in the webinar in this week, as well as there's going to be other webinars about various aspects of this of the joint vision and collaboration between the groups. The Rotary magazine is sure about. So you might want to look for that when the magazine comes to you. We can Partnering for Peace if you want. If you contact some contact information that it'll be at the end of this presentation, or I can send to Alicia because you're not going to be able to see it, I guess. But we can also help you identify a speaker for one of your club meetings if you're not able to connect with somebody in your local Peace Corps Association. In different parts of the country. There's also some that are country site based. In other words, all the volunteers that went to Columbia may have an association, for example. And sometimes they're also based on the cause, like maybe they worked in water or maybe they worked in education. But the idea again is to get more people involved in this area of service, of international service, and to get around the barriers and obstacles and to build on the strengths that each of the two avenues, meaning Peace Corps and Rotary, offer. Here's a picture. You didn't get this picture. Here I am, a young man bending over, transplanting onions in a field next to a boy. I was trying to learn, understand the effort it took to do this. And when I was in the Peace Corps, the farmers used their children to do this because the idea was they were lower to the ground. And supposedly, according to the farmers, it was less strain on them than it was on adults to do this all day. But even in Ecuador today, you see not so much children, but you see adults, men and women, doing this for rice, transplanting rice. And the Dominicans also had rice farms that did the same thing, just this hand labor. So again, why should this be interesting to you or to your district? Because it should help you to better design international service projects by connecting to either in-country Rotary clubs to the assistance of a Peace Corps volunteer, and also hopefully maybe benefiting on the service of the volunteer himself. One of the challenges of, if you understand this, is that a volunteer is usually up for a 2-year stint. And that may not align well with the project that's being proposed in a country, or how a Rotary club in that country may view the project. All of that has to be worked through to find a good connection, but the potential there is strong. The volunteer and the Rotary club in country can help with the needs assessment, certainly with communication. It helps the in-country Rotary club understand what Americans might be like. If they've never worked with an American Rotary club, a volunteer could help with that. And the volunteer, of course, would help with English and communicating, back to the Rotary club. So that's partly why we're promoting this. So I would encourage you, as I said, to find some returned Peace Corps volunteers in your area. Invite them to speak at your club or at the district event. If you're working at the district level or supporting an event, that you put that idea into the mix and you try to get them to involve some volunteers for that. And to start what you might call a Peace Corps Alliance committee in your club or in your district. Schoolhouses. Another idea is to support Peace Corps volunteers as they get ready to leave on their assignment. If you could find out which people are being selected in your area, and before they leave, invite them to a meeting or invite them to one of your more social activities. Help them know that you are friends, that you are supporters in support of the same cause, so that they leave knowing that maybe, they could then connect to you later for support and what they're trying to do. I know different clubs that through their own funding, not through funding from the foundation, but through their own funding, they've been able to apportion thousands of dollars to help a particular project that a volunteer was overseeing in a given country. So that's another way of doing it. But you could also, if you depending upon the project and the timeline, but you can also certainly connect them into more to larger projects that might involve, for example, a district grant or a Rotary global grant. Got a photo of some of my best friends in the Dominican Republic, but you can't see this, unfortunately, but these are some of them. One of them is the president of the Farmers Association. When I was there, we developed a Farmers Association among all the farmers. They elected their officers. I was able to help get them training on how to be a leader, how to be an officer, what were the different duties that the officers had to carry out. And then through them to get, and using their leadership to get more technical training for agriculture in various areas, including traveling away to another part of the country for 2 weeks to attend a rice seminar clinic. And they also eventually got contracts to sell the peanuts that they grew to a peanut oil company, and also to sell the tomatoes that they grew to a tomato canner. which they never had that opportunity before. And then they were ultimately able to get loans through the governmental, can't remember what it's called now. I'm going to call it agricultural bank. And from those loans to buy their first tractor that they then started using between them. Up until that time, they used horse or oxen drawn plows and machetes and hoes for all of their cultivation. So again, I just say, I guess I want to urge you again is try to find out who those returned Peace Corps volunteers are in your area, and try to hook up with them and learn more about Peace Corps, or even you can get a recruiter. Throughout the country, there are Peace Corps recruiters. They're employed by the Peace Corps, and they're located in different cities of the United States, and their whole job is to go out and find new volunteers, people to apply. I bet you there's one in Miami and Atlanta again, I'm going to venture to say, and maybe other cities. And they would be glad, they would jump at the opportunity to come to talk to a Rotary Club and speak about Peace Corps, let people know what the requirements are to apply, what's the process. If not one of yourselves, maybe you know somebody else, maybe you older folks there, maybe you have a grandchild that might want to do this. Maybe just another friend who would be interested in doing this. And again, by being a Rotary Club and helping that person connect to the Peace Corps, you're helping to strengthen this relationship, all for the benefit of successful international service projects. So this ends it up. This would have taken longer if you could have seen the pictures, but this is ending up my presentation. And I have here some contact information for Kim Dixon, the president of Partnering for Peace, and it shows the Partnering for Peace website, as well as the vice president. And I will send this PowerPoint to Alicia so that maybe at a later time she can distribute it to you folks, and you feel free to go through it on your own. And you will also get this contact information at that time. And really want to thank you for listening. The last photo here is a photo of me just sitting there underneath the poster I managed to get at that time of Bob Dylan. And yes, I'm still a Bob Dylan fan. And I'm looking at a much, much younger man in this photo. So thank you very much. I hope you were able to hear me. I hope this was beneficial.
Great.
Yeah, thank you, Bill, very much. I'm going to open it up to any questions. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in. RPCV Philippines, 71 to
Great.
74. Yes.
Wonderful. Yeah,
Yeah.
please add. Yeah.
Yeah, I was extremely impressed by how your experience paralleled mine, almost to a T. Everything you
I bet.
described, I could attribute to my own experience, just a different place and a little bit of a different time. But all of those things occurred as well. I'd say that after returning from the Peace Corps, I wasn't aware of Rotary, nor had I been at the time. It would have been a nice opportunity for potential collaboration for some of the projects that we did. And there are active Rotary clubs in the Philippines. It was just something I didn't know about at the time. Coming back, then back to school, and eventually, once I got a real job, I was asked to join Rotary in Brooksville, Florida. Did that for quite a while, and then my work with the U.S. Department of Agriculture moved me around the country a few times, and I kind of stepped back from Rotary and got busy with other things. But then when I retired, because my wife encouraged me to get back with Rotary, and that's when I began to realize what you pointed out, and that's how similar the foci of Peace Corps and Rotary is. Extremely similar. And I've often also thought that that cadre of returned Peace Corps volunteers would be excellent source of new Rotarians. Just one question. You said when you came back, the United States didn't really fit real well, and you were then off to Mexico. My experience, I think, might have been similar, although I didn't leave and go somewhere else. And just for the benefit of others, maybe you understand, when you join Peace Corps and you get the language training, you go to your in-country assignment. There's a certain amount of culture shock, and I think it is a life-changing experience, and I think for the better. And you develop a lot of understanding of other people and an understanding of how other people's view Americans. So that culture shock was something that dealt with, learned from, and kind of eventually got over and embraced. What really hit me hard and harder than culture shock was reverse culture shock. And maybe that's what you experienced when you came back to the United States. But when I came back to the United States, that really hit me hard. I'd been immersed in another culture for more than 2 years. And when I came back, I didn't know how much a postage stamp cost. I didn't know how at that time to use a pay telephone. They were all, because I didn't know how much it cost. And there were all sorts of simple things like your friends and family would say, well, you kind of speak bamboo English now, that sort of thing. So I was just wondering, is that the sort of thing that you described as the United States didn't fit real well when you came back?
Yeah, I agree entirely, basically, with what you're saying. In the training for Peace Corps, part of it, what they try to do, not only to understand the culture you're going to, but they're trying to help prepare you for that change, right? And
Yeah.
so while I had some culture shock, it wasn't so much culture, I think it was more economic shock, just how poor is poor, right?
Yeah.
But you go on because you don't have any choice. I mean, you could abandon Peace Corps. I mean, I know a volunteer who left after about 6 weeks. He just said, I can't do this, and he resigned, and they sent him home. Okay, but most of us stuck it out. And after a while, like I said about the creatures going in and out of my house, after a while, you hardly even notice them anymore. They're just part of life because you realize that all your friends and neighbors are living the same way. And so you don't feel so much a need to be different, right? You want to join. But when I came back home, I call it reentry shock. That's what they told us about, but we never got any training from Peace Corps or any sessions to talk about reentry shock, how it might feel, what you might do to move on through it. And so I came home, and I still remember that, you see, in the Dominican Republic, there was only one road that even at that time, that even approached the level of quality of an American highway, okay? And it was a 2-lane road, a highway, but there was no shoulder, no control about access. Only 1 lane in each direction. It was the best highway in the country. What do? I come back to California and I find myself on a freeway with 4 or 5 lanes in each direction, miles upon miles of concrete barrier down the middle to prevent the drivers from crashing into each other, chain link fence without end, overpasses, on-ramps, and I'm calculating all the millions of dollars that went into that and thinking about why isn't that helping a country like the Dominican Republic, see? And that was part of what I saw. I went into a mall. It was when malls first started. And it was like in the Dominican Republic at the time, you never had the opportunity to look at a whole bunch of different things to buy. If anything you wanted to buy, it was behind the counter. You couldn't just go up and touch it and pick it up and weigh it and decide whether you wanted to buy it or not. And I felt like all of these things were jumping out at me, trying to say, me, buy me, buy me. You know, that was part of the shock I was feeling. And so eventually I just said, and I started looking around and I found out about this job in Mexico, and it was very similar to the Peace Corps, but it was with a private group. And so I opted for that and I left. And I enjoyed what I did there for 2 more years. But then when I came back, I guess somehow I was more developed or advanced and I was more ready to be back home. But then again, I found a job with Hispanic children speaking Spanish a good part of the day. That was kind of a way to transition. You know, in a sense, I wasn't giving up all of that that I left behind in Latin America. I agree with you entirely, but it's but you get through it. You know, you get through it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Bill, for the presentation and
Yeah.
thank you for your service.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. And Rotary brought me here to Ecuador, or I'm in Reno right now, but it brought me to Ecuador. And much of what I've been doing in Rotary is very similar to Peace Corps. I mean, I live at a little bit better level now, but the work, the communities, the people I'm trying to, through Rotary, help, they're like the people from before. I mean, poor people who you know, don't have a lot to begin with and are struggling continuously. And now with the COVID, even worse. And I'll give you another example of culture shock. In the Dominican Republic, in Ecuador right now, when I left, everybody had to have a mask on throughout the country. Now for the COVID. Now in the beginning, it was hard. People had to change. It's just like in the US. But by and large, it's close to 100% compliance in Ecuador. And so when I decided I'm going to come up here, I managed to finally get my vaccination down in Ecuador. So I felt like I could be safer to travel. And I was president of the Rotary Club all this last year, when we did a lot of COVID response. My club produced, we elaborated, cut, sewed, and produced 16,000 masks to give out to poor people in the country who had no way of buying the masks that began to be sold by other people. We also got equipment for hospitals so they could deal with the COVID. So it's an atmosphere still intense there about dealing with the COVID. They're now down to about age 40 and inoculating people with the vaccines. But the country has had to get vaccines from, I don't know, a half a dozen different countries. And so we got Chinese vaccines, American vaccines, British vaccines, and vaccines from India. I hear there might be vaccines coming from Cuba someday. You know, it's just a mixture, right? But it shows how the country's trying to struggle. And a lot of developing countries are in that same boat. They're hoping that they could get some from the countries who have, you know, greater assets, right? So anyway, it's all mask. So I get on the airplane to come here. Before I could even fly, I had to, even though I was vaccinated 3 months ago, and I have a card to show that it was Pfizer. I got 2 doses of Pfizer. You have to have a pre-test, a negative pre-test before you get on the plane. So I had to go get that, right? Okay, so then I go in the airport, mask. Everybody in the airport has to have a mask. I fly in the first leg coming to California, which was from Guayaquil to Miami. In the Miami airport, mask everywhere, right? All in the airport, you have to have masks. Get the planes, you have to have mask on the plane. All the way across the country to San Diego on the plane, mask. I walk out of the airport in San Diego and nobody has a mask on hardly in the city. And it's like shock again. It's a form and a sense of culture shock, even though I knew that, intellectually, reading the news and everything, that the US had advanced much farther than Ecuador. A lot of people were, and also people were refusing to wear masks, there was that issue going on too. And so even though I knew all that, when you're living with masks day in and day out, and suddenly you're in a place where nobody's wearing a mask, it's like as if you changed languages almost, you see? And so, I'm slowly adjusting, and here in Reno, we're wearing masks when we go indoors, but we're not wearing masks when we're outside. And so you're just kind of constantly in an adjustment mode right now. And so it's a kind of culture shock too. I just wanted to add that. But,
Bill,
any other questions?
yeah, you mentioned that, of course, there's training, certain amount of training that you have to do, going to the Peace Corps. The Peace Corps trip itself to another country is 2 years. But are there other opportunities, short-term or long-term, within the Peace Corps that are available?
Well, the typical assignment is 2 years. But I mentioned earlier, maybe you got cut off with the Zoom transmission, but there's another component of Peace Corps now called Peace Corps Response. And it's by definition shorter. It's less than a year, and it's always more technically oriented. For example, there may be a farmers cooperative that's been operating for some time in some country, and they need somebody to come in with computer expertise to help them organize and to be a more efficient, or marketing maybe. And so they find somebody in the US who has that experience in developing technology or computer applications for marketing in the agricultural sector, for example. And then that person goes there, and they go there for whatever, 6 months or something like that. And they do what they need to do to help that group get up to speed in that area. And then they come back, see? So there are those more short-term opportunities, right?
That's cool.
Yeah. Longer term, not as a volunteer. I mean, you could always try to become a member of the Peace Corps staff. I mean, they have country directors, they have in-country advisors in different areas. If they're working in education, there'll be like an assistant director in charge of the program for education. I mean, that's more of a career appointment.
But the Peace Corps Response, again, is volunteer.
Oh, yes, it's volunteer. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Cool.
again, they support you. When I say volunteer, they call us volunteers, but they didn't call it pay. Now I'm talking back in 1968. They called it a living allowance. And it was basically at a level to, I got a living allowance, if I remember correctly, of $125 a month. All right. Which enabled me to be sure I had enough food, enabled me to pay rent, enabled me to travel occasionally to the capital city, to once in a while, if I was in the capital city, to go out to a movie maybe, or to meet some friends and, have a drink and eat a meal. But it was by design low enough so that I wasn't, I didn't have all these American things, all these consumer items, right? And that was by design. They also put aside money every month for service, what they called a readjustment allowance. And in my time, I think they put aside, as I recall, $75 a month. So when I got out, I got whatever that amounted to after 24 months. It was a few $1,000s. And it helped me at the time to, make an adjustment, to get a new job, to, buy a vehicle maybe. I don't remember exactly how I spent it all. They still have that too. And I assume they still offer something like that for Peace Corps Response, but I'm not up to date on that. I can't be sure.
Okay.
And then the health service would still be there too for Peace Corps Response members. Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, when we went, just to show you, when we went as volunteers, they sent us in groups. In other words, they would identify maybe 30 volunteers for a particular program in a particular country. And then we all had to meet, in my case, in Philadelphia. And they sent us all to a Philadelphia. It was a hospital that was part of the military. and we were all examined for health and for dental. And then if we had any problems, we might have gotten eliminated, or they might have given us an immunization for something. I remember a friend of mine, they said, the dentist said he had impacted wisdom teeth. And they said, either we're going to take out all your wisdom teeth or you're not going to go. And so he said yes, and he was in pain for about 3 or 4 days there after they took out his wisdom teeth. But eventually he got, he got well again, and off he went in the Peace Corps.
Okay.
Other questions?
We've got two real quick. Who is the director appointed by? Peace Corps director? And what is the annual budget, if you know? If you don't know right off the top of your head, you're more than welcome to go ahead and send me that information. I can send it out.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what the annual budget is anymore, and they were selecting a new director, but I haven't heard who that person was. So I don't know that either, but I could find out. I'll
Okay.
send that to you.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Will we wrap up here? Yeah, looks like we're good. Okay,
Okay. Thank you very much.
thank you, Bill. Despite our
Thank you,
technical
Bill.
difficulties, that was a
That's
very,
great.
very good presentation, very informative.
Yeah, thank you, Bill.
And I'll send you the PowerPoint too, Alicia.
Great. Look forward to it.
Okay.
All right.
So I guess it's evening over there, or in Florida, it's evening, but And
It
in
is
Ohio.
there too. Yes, it's evening there too. Yeah, most of us are on the same time. A few of us are about an hour earlier.
And for those of you that may not know, Ecuador is pretty much due south of Miami. When I fly from Guayaquil to Miami, it's pretty much a due north flight. And for part of the year, it's in the same time zone as Miami. And then when the Miami goes on daylight savings time, it changes by 1 hour. They never change the time in Ecuador.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of countries do that. We have, like I said, 32 members, basically active and honorary, and our members represent basically 29 different districts.
Wow, that's
So,
amazing.
yeah.
That's a lot of potential.
Exactly.
Mm.
Yes, it is.
Great,
Okay.
great.
Great.
I'll be here. I'll be waiting to hear great things about your club.
Very good.
Oh, and by the way, I guess I didn't get a chance to talk about this just briefly because it was on the PowerPoint. I am what is known as a Rotary Foundation technical cadre. And because I've done a lot of global grants and I know the system, I was selected to be a cadre. Cadres are Rotary volunteers who have that experience and have a particular area of emphasis from their professional background. So mine's in education. Although I want you to know that by far, I've done we built many more community water systems than we've worked with education. But I'm available, it's part of our charge to not only go out and evaluate projects in places where the foundation sends us, but also to provide training, to help clubs develop projects by reviewing their applications, helping them pull together, understand what they have to do. So I'm here to help you if you have an idea or you want to send me some ideas you've written up or you submit an application or you're going to, I'd be glad to review it and comment on it and to help advise you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay. Anything else this evening? Not wonderful. Again, thank you, Bill,
You're welcome.
for your
Thank
time.
you. You're glad to.
Great. We'll go ahead and wind down our meeting. It's a little after 8. We can go ahead and do the 4-way test, and then right afterwards, we will have a short board of directors meeting. So 4-way test of Rotary of everything we think they are due.
Is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Fair to
Is
all
it fair to all
concerned.
concerned?
Will it
Will
build
it build
goodwill and better
friendships?
friendships? Will
Is
it be beneficial to all
all
concerned?
concerned? All right.
And will it be fun?
And we'll have it whoop whoop. Thank you, dear.
Most important thing, Will.
Yes, that's be fun. Cheers.
Right.
All right.
Okay. So thank you. I'll sign off. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thanks again, Bill.
Bye-bye. You're welcome. Bye.
Okay. And without further ado, and what is an ado, we'll go roll right into our BOD meeting. Let's make this short and sweet. I just a few hours ago sent out the equivalent of an agenda. I apologize for the tardiness. It's been a very interesting 3 weeks up here. Let's just put it that way. If you could see, my father walked in a couple of times. He's doing well. He almost didn't make it. They did quite the work on him at Toledo Hospital. So I was happy that when I landed a couple of days later, he came out of the hospital and came home. So, yay. Anyway, let's go right into things. Brad has put on the BOD and it's been passed the passage and implementation of the changes to our club's bylaws concerning leave of absences. Any comments?
Yeah, I would just say that I think we can make this pretty quick. We have had a second in the thread by Ray and 4 yes votes with Will, Ray, Vince, me, and Alicia. No votes, no negative comments, and so I think we're good to go.
Okay, great.
So thank you, everyone. Yeah, I think it's good to get this formalized in the bylaws. So
Yeah,
thank you.
that's awesome. Thank you.
I would only add that, again, when we've amended the bylaws in the past, we need to update our website. We need to update the bylaws on the website.
I
Good
will.
point, Ray.
I will get on that. I get back.
Alicia, do you want me to send you again the Word file of that of the wording? You might be able to copy it. You might be able to copy
that would help.
and paste.
It's
Okay,
going to be on
I'll do that.
my to-do list when I get back. I'll probably get started on it this weekend or beginning of next week.
I'll do that right now. Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay, great.
Next on the line, real quick, change in September Zoom meeting. It has occurred to a couple of us that 9/6 is Labor Day. Do we want to keep the meeting as such, or do we want to, for that 1 month, move it back to 9/13, which is a Monday? Any thoughts?
Oh,
9/13.
can I interrupt?
Yeah, move it back to 9/13. No big deal.
Yeah,
Okay,
agree. Yeah. Sounds
all right.
good.
I'll go ahead and start making notes on that on the meeting thread and such like, so that the membership knows, kind of gets it under their belt. Okay, that was real quick. Next thing, we have, as of right now, 6 past district governors in our club. And I am extremely proud of that. I think that's really cool. Will has suggested that we create a knowledge trust committee comprised of the PDGs, where we have like this wonderful bank of knowledge from all of our members that have gone.
I think it's a great idea, but are we creating a kind of an elite group within the club? But I think it's a great idea, but just how we handle it.
Well, there you go. And how we handle it is definitely key. But I think it's definitely a group that we can draw all sorts of knowledge from. But I agree with you, Robin. We will not make it elitist. Oh, it is pretty cool to have 6 PDGs. Okay.
Elise, I think I originally called it an executive advisory committee or
Executive Advisory Committee.
Yeah.
That sounds better. Okay.
Yeah, and being composed of PDGs, it is by definition elite, Robin.
I would just
But-
don't want it to go to everybody's
Hey,
head.
it's a resource. It's a powerful
Yeah.
resource.
Yeah,
My former club didn't use, they had a PDG in their club. They did not use that resource at all. So
mhm.
anyway.
So-
Why don't we call it past district greatness?
Oh, I like that.
Okay,
No,
awesome.
we're more interested in future greatness, I think.
Yes, yes, yes. We
You
have,
don't
we have to
drive
have
a
that
car
balance.
by
We
looking
don't
in
want
the
to get
rearview
too
mirror.
askew. We don't want to get too askew. Okay, well, we'll work on that. Next one, and this is something that I had actually been thinking about. As we know, next month is Rotary Basic Education and Literacy Month, and I might have a speaker. I'm open to suggestions, but I would love the idea of planning to motivate club members to purchase and donate a book during September. They can donate it to a local elementary school or a local library. Again, adding emphasis on our club's main focus, and encourage the club members to let us know via the thread, or at least via an email with pictures, what they've done.
Good point.
On this particular donation of a book.
Right.
Right.
A good point, but we also have to remember that we contributed to Hands Across the Sea
Right.
$500 for this current year as well as last year. So the two amounts are combined into getting big books to the island of Dominica rather than the Dominican Republic, which the previous speaker is familiar with.
Right. And I definitely want to emphasize that, Robin. I also want to see a little bit more engagement with some of our club members, and I thought this might be something really simple.
Yeah, well, when the cost, I think of the case of big books, the 500 didn't cover it. So I chipped in an extra $100 to him to satisfy that requirement. So that's my piece done.
Okay, you're done. Take pictures. No, that's okay. No, thank you very much, Robin.
Carl Dickerson might actually be available to speak.
That would be good. We
To
had him a
address the
year ago,
club.
but yes, okay. I will try
I
to
will
get back.
I'll call him tomorrow and see if he would be a
Thank you.
speaker. You want it for the next meeting, next Zoom
Yeah,
meeting?
it would be for the September 13th.
Yeah, okay, I'll check with him tomorrow.
Okay. Also on that date, though, I realized, a lot happened last year with Will having his heart incident and such like that. We never had last year any formal member inductions. So I would like to do that next month. Kind of gather everybody, as many of our new members that we got in last year, include this year so far new members, and just have one big event. So that as part of the meeting.
Would you
that's
be
a
able
good
to do
idea.
that all in an hour?
That's a good question. So the other option is we just go ahead and make that our program. We've got some time, not a lot, but we've got a little bit of time. But I think it's something important that we need to do. We didn't do it last year, and I don't want it to slip. That's my thought, but I'm open to all input.
We should just make that the whole program for the meeting and
Yeah.
leave out having a presenter.
Could do that.
Yeah, that's an important enough event
Yeah.
that, you know, I think it bears some time and some weight and some merit. There are some magic words that need to be said
Yeah.
for any new Rotarian.
Domine.
Yeah. Can I, since you mentioned membership, may I mention two things really
Of
quick to
course.
the board? Yeah, there are two inquiries which that we have had for membership in the club here in the past couple months. One is a Paul Broom, former Rotarian, and the other is another past district governor up in Citrus County, Ted Johnston, who was my predecessor as DG. So anyway, I'm reaching out to both of those folks to find out where they stand. You know, COVID and a lot of other things have slowed folks down. But anyway, just want to let you know I'm working with two potentials.
Good. Two thumbs up.
Thank
We
you.
need
Your
7
work-
PDGs.
You're working on that attraction, Bill. That's good.
Yeah, you know, that Peace Corps opportunity, returning Peace Corps volunteers, that would really be cool.
That's, yeah,
That's the kind of people we want.
I think that would
I also just
be
finished
perfect,
up,
especially since they've been,
I also just finished up a zone 3334 directors Zoom meeting, the subject of which was membership and member attraction. So I've got some really good information that came out of that, and a few things we'd be able to do.
thank you.
Yeah, by the way, the total number of Rotarians as of yesterday, 1,162,763, slightly down from last year.
Okay. Okay. Well, cool. Any other comments? That's basically everything I have on my short list.
You got through that very quickly, Alicia.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
see, that's cool. I like that. I like
Way to
that.
go. Way to go.
Thank you. Well, I thank you for your help, and I thank you for the board for everything that you're doing so far. And like I said, it's been a fun few weeks, and I get to see Will actually in person in a few days.
I don't know. I have to brace myself. I think
Well,
we need
you-
I think we need introductions.
But you
Excuse me,
probably
who are you?
don't want to know. You probably don't want to know what she thinks. Then.
Yeah, I know. I haven't seen her for. I mean, I have seen her, but I haven't been with her for over 3 weeks. So
3 weeks. Yeah, it wasn't on my to-do list, and then all of a sudden it was. Yeah. So
I told her dad this heart attack thing was not a competition.
Very good. Very good.
all right. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and we've still been recording. I'm gonna go ahead.
Okay, cool. Good night. I
Hi,
gotta
Robin.
move.